All right, lesson 1.5 is all about the point-slope form for a linear equation. So our key terms for this is just our point-slope form. It's a linear equation, so again, like all of the equations we've been looking at, this one will graph out a line, but it's in the form y minus y1 equals m. On the outside of these parentheses, m is being multiplied by x minus x1. Big things to notice here, y sub 1, x sub 1. These two numbers are actually the point x1, y1. That was just one point on the graph. So if we are given a point, we know it goes through this point x1, y1, and we know the slope. Remember, slope was always our m value, slope, and the point. We can write this form of the equation, the point-slope form. Okay? So, summary table for writing equations. If you are given the slope, remember that was m, and one point, our x1, y1, then we can substitute in those values. Our point goes here for x value, y value. Our slope goes here, and you can write that equation out then. Step 2 then, you would probably want to rewrite that into a slope-intercept form afterwards. Okay, this one is not going to be as useful except for starting out. You can start off with this kind, but then you normally want to change it into a slope-intercept form, that y equals mx plus b. Okay, so if you have the slope in one point, you can go right for it. If you are given 2 points, though, if one extra step, you first need to find the slope. Okay, using 2 points, we can find our m value, that slope. Then we would just pick one of those points as our x1, y1, and go from there. So if you're given slope and point, you can just do 2 steps. If you're given 2 points, there's that extra find the slope step. So let's see a couple examples how this looks. Example 1, write the point-slope form of the equation of the line that passes through the point with the given slope. So this one is going to go through the point 3, negative 3, and it's going to have a slope of negative 4/3. Okay, remember this is our m value, this is our x1, y1, x and y. So we start off with the normal formula, y minus y1 equals m times, in parentheses, x minus x1. Now the things that are getting changed are this y1 is coming from here, this m is coming from here, and this x1 is coming from here. Okay, this y and this x stay as they are. Those are our variable ones. So we simply just plug everything in. Okay, y1 became this negative 3, x1 became this positive 3, m became this negative 4/3. We're going to simplify that out a little bit. Y minus negative 3 is the same as saying y plus 3. And then we have the slope on the outside, this negative 4/3, which is being multiplied by everything inside here, x minus 3. So this is a point-slope form of the equation. When you look at this, you should be able to say, all right, here is the slope, and then we have 1 point, 3, we know it's 3 because there's a minus here, and a negative 3. We know it has to be negative because this adding is the same as saying minus negative 3. So we know it's the point 3, negative 3 with a slope negative 4/3. Example 2 says write the slope-intercept form of the equation. So in this case, we're looking for y equals mx plus b. Now they already gave it to us in a point-slope form. This one has the slope 5 halves, 5 over 2. And we can say that we know it goes through the point. I'm going to write it over here. X value is negative 3. We know it has to be negative because it's plus here. It's the same as saying minus negative 3. And this is minus a positive 2. So it goes through the point 3, 2. This tells us it goes through 3, 2 and has a slope of 5 halves. So, get rid of that. What we're doing then is working our way backwards in a sense, or working towards getting this y alone. We're solving for it like a linear equation. Our first step is to take this slope, since it's on the outside of the parentheses, and we want to distribute it, make it nice and easy for ourselves. 5 halves times x is 5 halves x. 5 halves times 3 becomes 15 halves. You can consider this 3 over 1. 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 1 is 2. Now, this might not be the easiest thing to work with, so we can change it from 15 halves to 7.5. Now it's a little bit easier to work with. Y minus 2 equals 5 halves x, or 5 over 2x, plus 7.5. Now, to get y alone, we just add 2 to both sides. Add 2, add 2. It's easier to add 2 to a whole number 7 than to this fraction here. So that's why we switched it over. When we do that, y is all alone now. Y equals 5 halves x plus 9 and 1/2. So this would be our slope-intercept form of the equation. From this one, it tells us the slope and a random point, -3, 2. So that's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. This one tells us, here's the slope, 5 halves, just like it said here, and the y-intercept is going to be 9.5. So we'd go to that y-axis, up at 9.5, start there, and then start going up 5 over 2, up 5 over 2. Example 3, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given point with the given slope. Hint on this one is first write it in the point-slope form, then convert it. So if they gave us that our line will go through the point 4, -4, and it's going to have a slope of -3/4. Again, here's our formula that we start with. So this example 3 is basically taking example 1 and 2 and putting them all together. Here's our formula. We plug in what we know. This point, I'll underline it in green, and this slope, underlined in blue, the green information just went here. The blue information just went here. So now it is put into the point-slope form. One thing we can do is change this to a plus. Minus a negative is like saying plus. So y plus 4 equals -3/4 times the amount x minus 4. To change it into slope-intercept form, distribute this -3/4. So it's -3/4 x plus 3. So negative and minus, minus and minus. When we multiply them, they become positive. 3 divided by 4, then times 4 becomes 3. Now to get y alone, we subtract 4 from both sides. And we are left with y equals -3/4 x minus 1. And now it is put into a slope-intercept form. We started with the point and the slope. We got it into a slope and an intercept form. Last example, example 4. We're going to first write the point-slope form of the equation of the line through the given points. Then we're going to write the slope-intercept form of the equation through the line with the given points. Similar to what we did in our last example, except we're not given a slope. So even before that, we first have to find our slope. Then we find our our point-slope form. Then we find our slope-intercept form. So kind of 3 steps here. Remember from our first lesson, slope, m, equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're going to use these 2 points and just plug those in. Here are our x2, y2, x1, y1. So, plugging those into this formula, 1 is our y value, 4 is our x value. So these were the second ones, y2 and x2. -5 was our y value, -2 was our x value. So we simply plugged in this information into this formula for slope. So 1 minus -5 over 4 minus -2. Well, minus a negative is like adding. So we have 1 plus 5 over 4 plus 2, which is the same as saying 6 over 6, which is actually the same as saying 1. So our m value, our slope, is just 1. It means go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So we're going to use this point here, our first point, as our x1 and y1, x1, y1, and this m value, we just figured it out right here, is 1. So now we just plug those things into our point slope form. Y minus -5 equals 1 times the amount x minus -2. And at that point, we can just simplify it down. Minus a negative is plus, minus a negative is plus. Here is our point slope form. Now, I guess it can be simplified even a little bit more. This 1 we don't really need, or we can distribute it, and it's going to look like this. Y plus 5 equals x plus 2, which is going to be our next step anyway in getting it towards the y equals mx plus b form, or the slope-intercept form. The last thing we need to do in getting it to our slope-intercept form is minus 5 from both sides, in which case we now have y equals x minus 3. So I guess technically this was our point slope form. We have the point and we have our slope. This was our slope-intercept form. Our slope is 1 that we found out from here. Our y-intercept is -3. And that'll cover it for our the whole video.